Welcome to Inside the Business Mind, the program that takes you behind the scenes where local business owners share their tales of triumphs and tribulations. Meet your hosts, JC Rathwell and Kimberly Kehler, who have a passion for uncovering the untold stories of success. Join JC, a seasoned entrepreneur who over the last 3 decades has launched successful ventures around the world. Co-hosting is the dynamic Kimberly, who brings her own wealth of experience. Each episode features candid conversations with small business owners, exploring the highs and lows and offering listeners a backstage pass to the secrets of their success. Get ready as we take you inside the business mind.
Welcome back to Inside the Business Mind. I'm your host, JC Rathwell.
And I'm your co-host, Kimberly Kehler.
How are you today?
Good, thanks.
Good. So who do you have on the show today?
Well, JC, today we have a gentleman that was born and raised in Vernon, British Columbia. Being a businessman flowed through his veins at a young age. From a youngster doing odd jobs around the neighborhood to setting records in his high school business class, being a businessman was his niche. Through the years, he got his business degree, did some investing in real estate, and settled into the mortgage brokerage industry. His hobbies include being an avid chess and poker player and travel, where he has traveled to 25 countries and counting. He has a 5-star Google rating and has won many sales awards as a mortgage broker. Please welcome Wes Rosso. Hi,
Thank
Wes.
you. Hi, thanks Kim, thanks for having me.
Yes, glad you can make it.
Yeah, likewise, it's nice to be here.
20 countries, 25 countries already?
Over 25.
Wow, that's a great start to get your feelers out there whatever, and see the world.
I'm hoping to make it at least 100, but we'll see where that goes. I have a bad habit of kind of going back to places that I've already been to, so I need to try and get to more places I haven't been to yet.
Cool.
Yeah, we tend to do that, don't we? Go to where our comfort zones are and what we know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you started so young, and you knew that business was for you. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's just, I always had a hunger for it. My family was very middle class growing up. We weren't poor, we weren't exceptionally well off, but my parents were frugal, and I knew that if I wanted to get a nice new bike or anything like that, I had to bust my own ass for it. It wasn't just gonna fall out of the sky for me. I got lots of hand-me-downs and stuff, so I knew that if I wanted stuff in life, I had to get it myself, and always had that hunger for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, great lessons to learn young, for sure. Yeah, and then tell me about how you got started after high school.
Yeah, after high school, I went into business school, starting in Vernon, taking the business diploma. And after I got my diploma, I had to move to Kelowna to get the business degree. And while here, there was recruiters for a College Pro Painting, student painting franchise. And I applied for that, went through the interview process and got hired for that. So that was my first experience running my own real business sort of thing.
Wow, so interviews and applying for this, running a business, did you have something that helped you set you up before you applied for this? Like what odd jobs did you do before?
You know, I had no experience in the painting business, and so it was a little daunting getting into a business I had no experience with. But for whatever reason, I had always been good at doing interviews. I kind of had always gotten hired at every job that I ever applied for. And I don't know, I think it's mainly just attitude, just saying, I'm here to do a good job and pick me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Oh, good. So what did you learn and grow into for your first job? So you got it? You got the franchise?
I got the franchise. I almost chickened out of it because after I got hired, I had a problem with my car, and at the time I was living in Kelowna, and the job was actually to run the territory in Penticton. They already had someone for Kelowna, and just the weight, the gravity of getting into this new business that I knew nothing about.
And how old were you?
I was 21 or 22 at the time, so pretty young. And I almost chickened out of it. I said, I'm having car issues. And the guy just kind of talked me through it, and I said, okay, fine, I'll continue on with it. And I'm glad I did, because it was a really good learning experience.
So you went to, tell me a little bit about it then. So now were you traveling back and forth every day to work? Did they have a training program, like a management program for you?
Yeah, they have a pretty good system that they use for training their managers. I recall going down to Vancouver, where they had all the new managers, actually not just the new managers, but all the managers throughout BC together there to do sales training, learning how to deal with clients and handle negotiations, that sort of thing. And I was traveling back and forth from Kelowna to Penticton every day, which was a lot of travel time for the first month or so. And then I moved to Penticton for the summer, which was an interesting experience, living in the South Okanagan. I've now lived in Vernon, Kelowna, and Penticton at different points, so it's an interesting perspective.
Yep, great. And so what were some of the things that you learned? Because now not only are you running a business, but you're looking after employees, and you've got, the sales and all that.
Yeah, when you're running a business, you really wear a lot of different hats, a lot of different skills come into play. To be successful in that business, a big part of it is number one, getting sales. You have to get sales. If you don't get sales, you're not going to have to worry about those other issues that come along with it.
Right.
And luckily, I was good at that. I put myself out there. I really worked hard. I set a sales record for my territory there. And as it turns out, I was good at closing clients. And I don't think it was because I had any special sales skills. Someone once told me I had what's called the soft sell, where I'm not pushy, because I never liked pushy people. So I like to connect with people and just present the facts in a compelling way that makes sense and be genuine. I think that came through and made me successful with that. I had the highest success ratio throughout all of BC.
Wow.
Success ratio is the percentage of closings you'll get for the amount of quotes that you're putting out there. And they would say if you're hitting 30%, you're doing just fine. I was just over 50%, so I was leading the way.
That's
there.
incredible.
Yeah.
You're just starting, just took over this new position and making the sales.
Yeah, and closing deals on projects I had no idea how I was going to actually do, because I had no experience at the time, and they kept saying, fake it till you make it, fake it till you make it.
And what year was that? What year did you start that franchise?
I believe that was the year 2000.
And you and I must have met somewhere in the early 2000, 2003, 2005.
Shortly after,
Somewhere
because after I did that first year with College Pro Painters, I decided to go out on my own in Kelowna. And you and I had met at some point. You were one of the first customers I had in Kelowna.
That's awesome.
I think I painted one of your houseboats or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's where I met, and it was early 2000s. So it must have been, like you said, one of the first clients. That's where I met you, whatever. And that's been 20 years now. So
yeah, probably over 20 years. Yeah, it's been a while.
yeah.
So what prompted you to leave the franchise and go it on your own? What happened in between there?
Yeah, so at the end of the first season, all of the managers kind of find out the hard way that nobody really makes any money with their system. That's the big secret they keep from you, which shouldn't have been so much of a secret, because they're upfront about the fact that their royalty is close to 25% right off the top. So it's hard to make much money for yourself when you're paying that type of royalty. But the experience, learning their system, how they do everything was really worthwhile. At the end of the year, they invited me to come back for a second season, and their enticement is, oh, we'll lower your royalty maybe down to 20%. And I just thought, well, I'm leaving that territory, so I don't have a conflict of interest in competing in that market, I'll just do it on my own. I already have the knowledge, and zero royalty sounds a lot better than 20 or 25%. So I did that, and that's when I started my own painting company, Rosso Painting, which I ran for the better part of the next 15 years.
Good for you.
And it was just 1 year down in Penticton under that franchise?
That's right.
You learned enough information and a lot of experience in that 1 year
Yeah.
to be able to feel confident enough to do it on your own.
Yeah, I picked up their system and ran with it pretty quickly. By the end of the first year, I actually knew what I was doing, and that I find when you have proficiency in something, that instills a lot of confidence. So I always try to get proficient at something, so I'll be more confident in it, and yeah. From there, I was off to the races.
And a 15-year run doing painting now in the Okanagan or Kelowna area. I'm sure you went outside of Kelowna area for deals because nothing was holding you back. You weren't confined by
that's
a
right.
limit, so.
Yeah, I was primarily in Kelowna, but there was some projects that I would go several hours away for if it made sense.
And what did you find the transition from franchise to now on your own? Talk to me about some of the hiccups that might have happened with employees and taxes and CPP and all that jazz.
Yeah, well, when I was with the franchise company, they had a payroll company that would assist us with payroll for any employees. So we would just once a week or so, we'd call in, say these are the hours. So it's kind of nice that some of those administrative things were taken care of because I never cared for it, administration type of stuff. It always bogged me down. Yeah, when you're out on your own, you have to take care of that all yourself. And it's a bit of a burden, but that's just part of being a business owner. Yeah, along the way, over those 15 years, I probably hired about 200 people.
Wow.
But I tell people I could probably count on one hand the amount of people who were good and reliable. Usually I was lucky if people were one or the other. They're either decent at what they did, but unreliable, or they were reliable but not very good, or they might be neither a lot of the time. So there was a lot of turnover, a lot of frustration there, and ultimately that was a big reason for why I got out of that business. I never enjoyed micromanaging people. I always like to work with people who are self-motivated like myself, where we can just make a deal and say, this is what you want, this is what I want. You know, you provide me what I want, I'll give you what you want. But it's tough managing people and not something that I particularly ever enjoyed.
Yeah, it is a skill set, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so now, tell me about the transition that you went from painting into a mortgage broker. How does that happen?
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, when I kind of tell my story of going from a painting company to a mortgage broker, they kind of shake their head. But the thing was, I never pictured myself as a painter. To me, I was always a business person interested in finance and investment. I had just got into it as kind of something to do while I was in college and business school to learn how to run a business. And that's all it really was for me. I was always interested in investing. While I was running my business there, I was always going to any seminars that were to do with self-development, real estate, investing, that sort of thing. And along the way, I wanted to become a real estate investor. I started looking into doing that. I eventually got my first house using a mortgage broker. A few years later, I looked at getting another house, again using a mortgage broker. And on that deal, the mortgage broker at first said, oh yeah, everything looks great here. And then all of a sudden, the deal fell apart. And I really wanted to know what had happened there. And I like to kind of be in control of the process. And being someone who wants to get more real estate, I thought, well, why not become a mortgage broker, because they're the ones who hold the keys to financing. Why not learn?
Do it myself.
Yeah, why not learn more about how that works and get the financing figured out for myself?
It's always a shock, you know, how you take all the steps you think you need to take, right, to get a mortgage and have your finances and everything looks like it's going well, and then all of a sudden, like, there's a showstopper, right? So I can see how there's probably lots of us that would like to learn that so that we could be more prepared.
Yeah. When I work with clients these days, I try and educate people on the process, you know, how it's done, what are the elements that go into being approved for financing, and I think people appreciate learning about that. It's certainly gotten a lot harder over the years. When I got my first house through a mortgage broker, we just kind of made up what my income was, and it worked. It was called a stated income program back then, and they didn't verify anything. They're like, okay, you make 80 grand, cool, great.
You're approved.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
I said, that works for me.
Great. And now, and compared to the systems now, like, I know we were talking in the education component of keeping up with your license is substantial now.
Yeah. Ever since I've been a mortgage broker, every 2 years we have to get relicensed. There's always been some educational requirements. Just in the last time I went through this, just in January, it seems like it's gotten a lot heavier because things are more complicated than ever before. There's a lot more fraud going on these days than ever before, and so we have to be on the lookout for those sort of things. And it's gotten more complicated overall.
Tell me a little bit about your clientele.
Well, my clientele is very diverse. I get people who are first-time home buyers. I get people who are looking for refinances. Sometimes people are in financial jams. They need to consolidate debts. I work with people who are real estate investors and trying to build up their portfolio. I kind of pride myself on being able to help out a lot of different type of situations.
Okay, so the more challenging ones, the more interesting ones?
There's been plenty of challenging and interesting ones, and although I'm getting pretty good at doing those type of deals, I still would prefer the easy ones.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I'll just take my deals as they come along and try and help everyone out.
Yeah. So what are some of the typical things as a business owner and a mortgage broker that you keep in place to keep things running smoothly and keep forefront in your business planning? Yeah,
well, having a good CRM, client management system, helps to keep track of the deals that I have on the go, and also keep in touch with people that are in my network, just to remind people that I'm here. I have a newsletter that touches base with people,
Yeah, because we're not always applying for mortgages, right? It could be 3-5 years, however many years.
Yeah, for a lot of people, it is a longer term type of wait and see before I can work with them. People are busy these days and have short memories as well, so it's my job to stay on top of that and keep in touch with people and let them know that I'm here. For instance, just yesterday, the Bank of Canada had made an interest rate cut, which personally I wasn't expecting this soon for them to do. But my CRM with a newsletter automatically sends out a newsletter to everyone to let them know that that's happened, and just a way for me to stay in touch with people.
Yeah, that's great. And so what do people might not know that's all entailed of applying for a mortgage, or the information that you might need? Like,
One of the things I usually tell people is that lending is typically based on your income. So the more income that you have, the more you can generally qualify to borrow. And then we also look at your debts, And if you have debts, that will be a reduction of your income. And I try and let people know that they should avoid loan payments. Like a lot of people get pretty expensive car payments, which can really ruin your chances of qualifying for a mortgage loan. The average person who has income, every 20 to 25 grand will allow you to borrow 100 grand. Whereas if you have debt payments of $500 a month, that will reduce your borrowing power by 100 grand.
Wow.
By 100 grand.
By 100 grand.
So 20 grand for here, but 100 grand backwards.
It takes a lot of income to qualify to borrow it, but it doesn't take that much debt to reduce that. And people are usually shocked. I was shocked when I heard how much a $500 car payment can reduce your borrowing power.
Is that the service to debt ratio? Or is that something different?
It's kind of related to that. Okay. Yeah. So lending is determined primarily by income. Debt will reduce that. Credit score is important as well. And when it comes to credit score, it's not just about the score. People are always worried, oh, what's my score, what's my score? A lot of people don't know that you have to have a minimum number of credit cards, or what we call trade lines. And if you don't have at least a certain number that you need, you may have to wait 2 years, because they want to see that you have a certain number of trade lines that you've established for at least 2 years. And
so trade lines, is that only credit cards?
No.
Or what are some of the other options?
A trade line could be a credit card, a line of credit, or a loan. But for reasons we previously stated, I don't recommend people get loans to build their credit. There are a lot of companies out there that tell people, oh yeah, this loan will help you build your credit. There are much better ways to do it, and a loan can really hurt your chances. So I avoid that. Yeah. So yeah, people need to have the magic number of trade lines, by the way, is 2.
Okay.
And you have, I have this rule I call the rule of 2s. You need to have 2 trade lines that have been established for 2 years and have credit limits of at least $2,000 or more. A lot of people have credit cards that are only $500. Lenders look at that like, what is that? That's nothing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So.
And what about having too much credit? Like, say, like you've got $14,000 available, but you only use like $800 a month and you pay it off, or?
That's a perfect situation.
Oh, yeah?
Because it's great to have a lot of credit available to you that you're not using, because when it comes to scoring a credit score, the number one thing is making your payments on time. The second thing that goes into the scoring algorithm is how much of your available credit you're utilizing. They call it the utilization ratio. So if you have a $1,000 credit card with a balance of $500, you're using 50% of that, which is not good. Anything over about 30% is not ideal. Whereas if you had that same card that was a $10,000 limit, that $500 balance is only 5%, which is a very good utilization ratio, and that will boost your score. So,
numbers game for sure.
Yeah, lots of numbers.
And so what about starting the process? So say I come to you and these are my needs, I'm looking for a mortgage, to completion. What does that really look like?
Yeah, so when I get someone in, what I generally tell them is that I'm going to help them get clarity on what is possible for them. Some people come in with unrealistic expectations. They may make $30,000 and want a $1 million house. So I don't really start by saying, what is it you're looking to do? I tell them, I'll help you find out what's possible for you.
Perfect, I like that.
Yeah. And as well, I'll let them know how much the down payment would be for what they might be able to qualify for. And then I'll take a look at their credit, and if it's good, that's great. And I'll give them any tips on how to optimize that. If it's not good, then I'll let them know what they need to do to improve that, and give them specific action steps on how to do that.
Great. So let's just quickly talk about the business of being a mortgage broker and the ups and downs in the industry. What are some of the challenges that you've faced, say, over the last 5 years?
Yeah, there are a a lot of challenges being a mortgage broker or an independent business person in general. There's fluctuations in the market. Recently, interest rates have gone up quite a bit, and so that's kind of dried up the market to some extent. And my income is not consistent. So if you're someone who needs a consistent income, be it a mortgage broker or anyone who's in an industry where there's a lot of variability.
Like real estate, same thing.
Real estate is the same
Realtors
thing.
the same thing. At every year, feast or famine, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I've always been kind of used to that, being a self-employed individual. But not everyone can handle that. So.
Very good awareness.
Yeah, so that would be a big challenge there. Another challenge is just putting yourself out there to get business. In my business, I have to go out there and hunt for my business. It's not like people are just going to walk in off the street and say, I'm here to do business with you. I have to let people know I'm here. I have to network myself. I have to build referral partners, all those things. Yeah.
Great.
No, it's just to say.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, and I'm glad you're able to make it with us here today.
Thank you again for having me. It was my pleasure.
Great. Well, thank you for joining us and getting another glimpse inside the business mind.